Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co-host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Grant. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Got a pretty big hurricane coming in, so hoping for
Yeah,
the best as that approaches, but see how that goes.
yeah.
So we're gonna start out with what we normally do. We're gonna give an update on our NFL game picks, where we pick every single game and give our predictions. Last week we were tied. We're still pretty close. I'm up 46-32 right now, and you're 43-35. So you're 3 games back from me. But we both had a pretty hot week. Definitely got a lot more right than wrong. So make sure you're following our Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report to see our weekly game predictions for the NFL as each week approaches. So it's a lot of fun, and it's getting pretty competitive as we go down the stretch of the season.
Yep.
Next, we're going to go to another segment that we like to do all the time, which is where we give our hot take of the week. This is where we just say our boldest opinion that we have in mind in the sports world. Mason, what's your hot take this week?
So my hot take this week is that the Philadelphia Eagles, are overrated. I'll have to say, especially Jalen Hurts. I know he's only had 4 games this year, but he's 930 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So he's on pace for 17 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. So I don't know if that's what you'd really want as a former MVP candidate. So they have not won a game by more than 5 points this season, and they also got blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which
Right.
they're a good team. But Saquon Barkley is the only person doing anything for that offense.
Right.
And their corners get cooked almost every single weekend. Darius Slay got broke by Drake London for the game-winning touchdown against Atlanta Falcons. And I don't like Nick Sirianni. When I think it was off season, there was a clip, and he was talking about Giants fans and stuff, and he was like, well, got your best player. Well, yeah, congrats. Now he's the only person doing anything for your offense, just like he did for the New York Giants. So that's actually turning out great for you. They are 2-2, and the way they are playing, I can confidently say that I think that the New York Giants can beat them with our team right now.
That's a fair enough take. Something I thought interesting about the Eagles is they brought in Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator and thought that was going to make them some top tier defense, and their defense has looked not that good this year, especially in late game scenarios when they need them most. They're making a lot of mistakes, and I'm not saying it's all on Vic Fangio, but look, the Dolphins had him last year, and it didn't seem like they liked him too much. So maybe that's something to keep an eye out as the season continues. Yeah, that's a pretty good hot take. My hot take is going to be about the Miami Dolphins. Look, if I would have told myself this hot take a week ago, I would have called myself stupid. But the Dolphins season is not over yet. We're second place in the AFC East right now at 2-3, and we're going into the bye. And we only have one more game without Tua, as it's rumored. It's rumored he's going to be back by week 8. So we only really got one more game, and that's against the Indianapolis Colts. And Huntley looks like he's starting to get a little bit comfortable. So if they can sneak out a win against the Colts, we're in pretty good shape going into week 8 with Tua possibly coming back. So, yeah, that's my hot take. I think that the Dolphin season is not over, which if we had lost to the Patriots, it definitely would have been. But they found it. It was an ugly win, but they found a way to win. And I feel like that continued their season in a way.
Yeah, so, I mean, Colts are pretty broken also. We don't know, or I don't know how long Anthony Richardson is out for. I haven't really been keeping up to date with that, but Joe Flacco, he didn't have the greatest game. So I think if the Dolphins play their best football, they can definitely sneak out a win.
Right. Just lost to Jacksonville, they did, so pretty brutal loss.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see if the Dolphins can turn it around. I had never thought that would happen, but here we are. Next, we're going to go into our underdogs of the week. This is where we give a little spotlight to someone that may not get as much spotlight as usual. So, Mason, who's your underdog of the week?
I hate to do it. But after watching that Yankees game last night, I got to give it to Michael Garcia. He had
That's a good one.
4 hits. He had 4 hits and an RBI in the 4-2 win against my Yankees in Game 2. He just that ball to him was a beach ball last night, and he was hitting it.
Right.
He's just doing his
Yeah.
thing. So definitely credit to him. Definitely haven't heard his name a lot this season. So for him to kind of come up in the clutch in postseason baseball against a dominating force, or was supposed to be a dominating force like the New York Yankees, it's definitely good to kind of see that from a guy like that on the Royals.
Yeah, it's a very good pick. He had a very good game last night, and like that's basically the definition of an underdog because not too many people talk about
Oh
him.
yeah.
So, very good pick.
Hmm.
I'm glad you put your bias to the side and
I know.
talked about that. I'm also going with the baseball team, actually, rather. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I got to give it to the Detroit Tigers. Now, I
Okay.
don't know if they'll win this series against Cleveland. They tied it 1-1 last
Right.
night, which is pretty huge for them going back to
Yeah.
Detroit
It was
now.
off
But
a walk
the main
off.
reason off a walk off. The main reason I'm giving it to them though is because they beat the Houston Astros and they were a huge
Oh
underdog
yeah.
in that series. And to be a team that had a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs and a team that hasn't been in playoffs in a long time to go against one of the most experienced playoff teams in the past 10 years and beat them while on the road, that deserves an
Hmm.
underdog of the week, if you ask me. Like, that's a pretty huge thing.
Absolutely.
And if they can even beat Cleveland, that would just be a crazy story. So, once again, they're my underdog of the week. I think this is the second time I've picked them, but they just keep doing
Yeah.
it. Their underdog story is just so good. I have to keep talking about it.
Oh
You got
yeah.
anything to say about that?
No, I mean, I just everyone loves the underdog, and I'd love to see Detroit beat Cleveland. I don't know how realistic that is, but they're not far off. They're tied up, so we'll see how it
Yeah.
unfolds.
Playoff baseball, anything can happen. So we'll see how it
Oh yeah.
goes. Next, we're going to hop into our news segment. We always start with the NFL. And what we like to do is give our 3 takeaways from the previous week of the NFL. So, Mason, what are your takeaways from week 5 of the NFL?
So my first takeaway is that the Broncos might be on something. They're 3-2. They have beat the Raiders, Jets, and Bucks. But it's still impressive how they turned it around from an 0-2 start to the season, win 3 straight. So it's been pretty impressive. So that's my first take. My second one is the Bengals need to figure something out. I don't know how long we've been talking. It's been the whole season. We've been talking about it since you started in week 1, saying they need to figure it out with this whole T. Higgins and Jamar Chase thing. Jamar Chase did
Right,
have a great game, but they they shot themselves in the foot off that hold. Oh my gosh. That muffed hold on the field goal to, I think it was to win the game actually. Yeah, off
right.
that Lamar fumble. So it's just they're killing themselves right now, and the only team that can turn it around is them. So
Right.
and the next team that has been on a bit of a rut is the 49ers. They are in serious trouble with all the injuries that they're going through. It's
Yes,
been
they are.
apparent that these guys that they're missing have just how much they impacted the game. And I don't think everyone realized, how bad it would be. We didn't realize, we thought everything was going to
Mm,
be okay.
yeah,
Jordan Mason has been playing well, but nothing is close to what like McCaffrey and like these
right.
other guys that were able to produce for them in that last season. And it's been scary. So, yeah, those are my 3 takeaways from this week.
Yeah, I like all 3 of those. I agree with every one of them. So,
Hmm.
yeah, the thing about that Bengals game that just amazes me is that you had Joe
Oh,
Burrow go for like 350 and 5 touchdowns,
I
and your
know.
defense
Oh
couldn't
my
hold it
gosh.
together to win you that game. But yeah, they've been definitely. If I had to pick a fan base, I feel the most bad for this season is definitely the Bengals fan base. They've just been going through it this season. So Maybe they'll
Yeah.
turn it around. I mean, I get it was the Ravens that they were playing against, but man, you threw for 5 touchdowns and the defense going to help you out just a little bit. But
No.
yeah. So going into my takeaways, the first takeaway I have is that the Houston Texans look like the team to beat in the AFC. Their
Mhm.
offenses just look absolutely dominant. You got Nico Collins, who's putting up just an outstanding year. Obviously, you got Stephon Diggs. Tank Dell hasn't been as good this year, but I'm sure he'll have his moments. I mean, he's a wide receiver 3 with a core of Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, so it's going to be hard to be great with those guys around you. But they've looked like a really good offense, and to me, they look like the team to beat right now in the AFC. They've looked like the most complete team. Their defense is good. Their run game is good. They're doing everything right. So that's my biggest takeaway for the AFC side of things. My number 2 takeaway is that Jaden Daniels is on track to be one of the greatest rookie quarterbacks of all
Yeah.
time. He is the
Yeah.
first player ever to have 1,000 passing yards and 250 plus rushing yards in his first 5 games. Just an absolutely crazy stat. And right now, he's 101 of 131. So he's only had 30 incomplete passes this season. He has 1,135 passing yards, 300 rushing, and a 4-1 record. And he has 8 total touchdowns, by the way. Just looking like an absolute beast. I bet you weren't expecting that in your division this year, but man, that offense is
No, but I
actually looking like
wanted
one of the
him.
best. I get that. I get you wanted him. So
I
let me
know.
ask you this. It's actually a fun
Yeah.
little question I could ask you. If you could go back in time and you had the choice to pick between Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels, which one would you pick?
Um, Jane Daniels.
Really?
Because
Because
just
Malik Neighbors
I
has been
would, I
great.
would. He's been amazing, don't get me wrong, but, what position is more, what position is more of a need, should I say?
That's
We
fair
won
enough.
this week without Malik Neighbors. Darius Slayton absolutely stepped up. Oh my gosh.
Yes, he
I
did.
just thank you. So if say we had a guy like, Jane Daniels, all these guys could be producing the way that Malik Neighbors has this season. So I don't,
Very fair.
I'm gonna ride this train that I've had saying that, Jane Daniels is the guy that I wanted. I love Neighbors, but he's the guy that I did want, and to see the way he's performing, it's bittersweet, to say that I was right, but it's also in my division, so kind of
Right.
hurts.
Yeah, he's looking like a generational talent. So that was my second
Yes.
takeaway. My third takeaway you're not gonna like at all. But Caleb Williams is starting to get comfortable, whether you like it or not. This
Yeah.
past week, he threw for 304 yards, 20 of 29. He had 2 touchdowns, and he won 36-10 against Carolina. Over the past 3
Yeah.
weeks now, he's been looking like he's been getting more and more comfortable, having some good games here and there. So those people that were freaking out saying he was a bust, I think it's time to put that to rest. I think you're just seeing a guy that's finally starting to get comfortable, and I think he's going to have a pretty good rookie year. Look, these young quarterbacks right now, they're
Uh-huh.
having a year, and it's fun to watch. It's
Yeah.
good for football, between Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, and even Sam Darnold, who's younger, is undefeated right now. You got all these young quarterbacks that deserve their flowers.
Golly.
Drake
Yeah.
May might get into the mix here if New England looks for a change. So it's fun to watch. It's good for football, if you ask me. So those are my 3
Yes.
takeaways from week 5. Um, Next headline in the NFL just happened this morning. The New York Jets have fired Robert Saleh. What are your thoughts on that? Because I got a few.
So, my cousin and I, he's a huge Jets fan. My whole family up north is a Jets fan. They all love him. Um, we understand, like everyone understands that the Jets are in a bit of a rough patch right now, but to blame it on a guy that's so player orientated and just everything is for the players. He doesn't care like what's going on outside. That's not his style. I think we all saw that clip last year in game 1 against the Bills on that kick return touchdown for the win in overtime. He was the first person to celebrate with the undrafted free agent. It was just, it was amazing, and like, it's sad to see a guy that is that passionate about football and like his players to just kind of be thrown out the window in the middle of the season. So I hope someone, I hope he gets a great spot, whether it's head coach or just assistant coach. But I do think that it might have been a bit of an impulse decision, just because
Mhm.
they wanted to blame the loss on somebody. But I don't think he was the right person to blame.
Yeah, look, I think this is way too crazy of a move to be making right now at this point in the season.
Yes.
To blame all of the struggles of the Jets on the head coach is just so beyond me because it is not his fault at all. Like
No.
if you take a look deep into their problems are with their players, like Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson not being able to find a connection, Brees Hall not being able to be, a
Sauce
force,
Gardner.
Sauce Gardner, having his troubles. The whole defense in general, that was supposed to be one of the best
Yes.
defenses going into the year, has been awful or mediocre, I guess I should say. They haven't been awful. The run
Yeah.
defense has been awful, but yeah, it just seems like a very impulse decision, like you said. I don't think that he's the problem at all. And now you're without a head coach. And I almost wonder if Aaron Rodgers had a say in any of this because it doesn't seem like him and Robert Saleh had the greatest connection going into the year. I'm not 100% sure, but I just think it's a very weird decision to make at this point in the season, especially when you got guys who the head coach actually is the problem. Like if you look at Philly, for instance, like Nick Sirianni should not be a
Mhm.
head coach right now at
Nope.
all.
Get him out of
And the
there.
fact that he's not even on a hot seat right now is crazy. And then you go and fire a guy like Robert Saleh. That just feels like a very impulse decision when there's other teams that are having the same issue, but it's like a greater issue, like Nick Sirianni, like
Yeah.
I just said,
Yep.
is going on. So I just think it's a crazy move to make in the middle of the season, and I hope that they don't regret that as the season goes on. We'll see though.
Yeah.
All right, heading into the next topic of news, we're in the best time of baseball season, which is postseason baseball. It is underway right now. At the time of recording this, we're in the divisional rounds, and every series is tied at 1-1 right now, which is just awesome as a baseball fan. I know as a Yankees fan, it kind of sucks for you because you don't want to
Yeah.
be in a tight series, but it's great for the sport to see all these series so close and all these upsets occurring. So speaking of how we're in the divisional rounds, who do you have winning the divisional rounds to set up the ALCS and the NLCS?
So divisional rounds. To set up the ALCS, I think I'd like it to be Yankees versus Cleveland or Detroit. I wouldn't mind between the two, but I think Cleveland would win it or is going to win it. But even the Yankees are like, man, what's going on? We just, our bullpen was looking amazing last night. Um, and like Rodon, he was just, I thought he was going to be on a tear, but he was not on a
I did
tear.
too.
He,
I did too.
he started off those first two innings like, oh boy, it's gonna be a good night for him, but it was not. And like our hitting, everyone's worried about Judge, which as a Yankees fan, it's kind of like, okay, we kind of want you to step it up. It's 1-on-1 now. This is where we need you. But I think he'll get into his groove. It was like the same as Jalen Brunson last year in round 1 and 2 of Eastern Conference. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the ALCS, I think it'll be Yankees versus Cleveland. We'll see how that turns out. And then NLCS, I think it'll be Padres versus Phillies. After watching
Yeah.
this Padres Dodgers series, Padres have been on one. It's been amazing to watch.
Hmm.
What was it, last night or the night before? It was the night before. Um, that the Dodgers were just or Padres were just killing the Dodgers.
Insane.
They almost stopped the game. Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it'll be Padres versus Phillies.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on both of those. I think that the ALCS will be Cleveland, New York, and I think the NLCS will be Philly, San Diego. I just think that those teams make the most sense for at this time. You look at the Cleveland Detroit series. I think it's a great story that they're 1-1 right now, but let's be for real. The main reason that Detroit won that game was from the efforts of Tariq Skubal starting on the mound and given
Yeah.
like I think it was 7 scoreless innings. You're not going to have him
Yep.
pitch in every game, obviously. So I think that was their game to win because you have your best pitcher, who is probably the one of the best pitchers in baseball, and you won that game. But he's not going to be able to pitch every game, and I just think Cleveland's the better team. And I think the Yankees will handle the Royals. I don't think you need to worry too much. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it stinks they won in New York yesterday, but I don't think you have too much to worry about. And the Philly Mets is the only one I'm hesitant on because the Mets
Yeah.
are so hot right now. It really does look
Uh-huh.
like they can beat Philly. But I think Philly, that walk-off win is such a huge momentum boost that Nick Castellanos gave them
For
the other
sure.
night. So I think that Philly's going to beat the Mets, and then I think San Diego is going to beat the Dodgers. I do not think the Dodgers are as complete as a team, especially when you look at their pitching staff. Their pitching staff is just not
Mhm.
that good. Yeah, so those are my predictions for the ALCS and NLCS. We'll see if we're right or wrong. We both agree, so be interesting to see how it plays out. Next, I want to talk about what team has surprised you the most so far in the MLB postseason.
I'd have to say the New York Mets. I was, I thought they had a great first round in the wild card, and it was like, okay, yeah, cool, it's gonna die out. But for them, they'd be giving Philly as much trouble as they have because you know, the last game they played, it came off to a Nick Castellanos walk off, and it's like, wow, the Mets really are like right there, and I was expecting kind of like a sweep between Philly and the Mets for Philly to win, but they've shown that the Philly is human. So we'll see.
We agree once again. I also put down the Mets
Yeah,
as the team that surprised me the most. You look at a
nice.
team that just never gives up. It always seems like they're done, and all of a sudden they have a huge play that keeps them in the game or wins them the game. It's just crazy that they're right in this incredible hot streak, and
Hmm.
they're a team that not a lot of people were expecting to be successful this year, and they're just defying all odds, and you love to see it. And that's the team that has surprised me the most. And as I said previously, the one series that I would not be 100% certain on is the Phillies and the Mets. I think the Mets can beat Philadelphia if they play their cards right. So that's the team that surprised me the most. So we both agree on that. Next, we're going to go
Hmm.
into what player has surprised you the most this postseason.
I think we're gonna agree on this one again. I probably should have picked a different person just because but I'd have to say Tatis. The 2 homers. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
the 2 home runs, 3 RBIs in game 2. It was just a beat down. He's been as advertised, and it's been awesome to
hmm
watch.
Fernando Tatis has been the best player in the playoffs, and it's by a long shot. The man has been insane. He's batting 643 right now. He
Mhm.
has 9 hits,
Oh
3
my
home
god.
runs, 5 RBIs, and 7 runs scored. And not to mention, he has been playing incredible defense on the defensive end out in right field. Has made some huge plays. There was that play in the Dodgers game the other night where line drive was hit. He had to jump for it, catch it. That saved the Padres
Mhm.
from having a Rocky in there, and that could have changed the whole tempo of the game if he hadn't made that catch. So he's just making plays on both sides of the field, and he's been so red hot. And he's one of my favorite players in baseball. I think he's one of the most exciting players. I've been saying this for years now. So I'm glad to see him be so successful and have his moment. So yeah, we both
Mm.
agree. We have agreed on every single MLB take
I
we've
know.
had today, which is just
It's been
absolutely crazy.
crazy.
Maybe next week we'll
I'm
disagree, but
I'm learning, man. I'm learning.
yeah, you're learning. I don't know if agreeing with me it means it's the best recipe, but we'll see. I've been known to be proven wrong a lot of times, but we'll see. Next, we're gonna head into the college football news. There's some pretty big headlines this week in college football. Starting with the biggest one, Vanderbilt defeated Alabama 40-35. What were your thoughts on this game?
It was great to see. As we've been going through these podcasts, everyone knows I love the underdogs, and no one expected for Bama to lose after beating Georgia the way they did. Um,
Right.
Granted, they almost lost to Georgia, but you just think of the star power that Alabama has, and then you think about Vandy, and it's like, well, I've never heard about anyone on Vandy football team. And then for Vandy to come out and just beat Bama at home, it's script writers were on something this week for NFL and college. So it
They
was
sure were.
it was awesome. And then I don't know if you saw the clips of
Oh, I
them
saw it.
taking
I
the
saw it
the goalposts out into the river. That
all the
was
way to
awesome.
to the river. That was crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
great
loved it.
win for Vanderbilt. Um, huge upset. No one was expecting that. You got the quarterback Diego Pavia. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't
think
know.
so.
I don't know who he is, to be completely honest with you.
That's what I'm
Threw
saying.
16 of 20 for 252 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their running back had a good game with 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. And their wide receiver one, Eli Stowers, had 6 receptions for 113 yards. Once again, I don't really know any of those people, but hey, you beat Alabama, and no one was expecting that, and just great for all the Vanderbilt fans out there, and to see that upset happen. Now, next headline. It feels like we talk about this team every week, but it's because they just always find a way to be into the news, whether it's good or controversial. Miami had made a huge comeback to beat California 39-38. They were down as big as 35-10 with only halfway through the third quarter. So a huge comeback. What are your thoughts on that game?
So I think if they want to, I think if they want to be as good as their record, they need to stop coming close and being as as deficited or losing in the games as they are. They are pulling it off and getting the wins, which is impressive. But I think Cam Ward is too good of a quarterback to be, playing the way that just the team in general is. And he may be having a great game, but it just doesn't go the way as they want it to. And I'm really interested to see how it goes into like them playing a ranked opponent, because so far they haven't played anybody ranked. And like, say they do get that top 10 ranked matchup, how are they gonna, play? Are they just gonna get whooped, or is it gonna be what they usually do and just come back at the last second and win? So we'll see. It's interesting.
I'm gonna have to kind of disagree with you here. The last
Mhm.
2 weeks, yes, it has come down to to the wire, and they were down for a while, but they have been blowing out teams. They blew out the Gators. They blew out
Right,
another
but
team. I forget who it was. They've blown out teams. Now, as the competition has gotten harder, that's when they've been in a deficit. So you're right on that part. But I also
Mhm.
think that a great team is someone who faces adversity and can come back and rally and win, especially being as down as big as 35-10. Now, like you said, you don't want to be down like that if you want to be a good team. But I
Mhm.
also think it's a good sign that they're able to face this adversity and win. And it's still a little early on, so you got things that you can work out. Um, I think it's a good win. I was on
It
Twitter,
is.
and all the local Miami reporters were just saying, like, by halftime how the game's done, and they lost, and they came back and won. So a great win, but I can agree and disagree on some of your
Right.
points there. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tricky situation whenever you're in a deficit, because there's two sides of a story. One, like, oh, we made the comeback, and two, why were we down in the first place? So yeah, it's a tricky subject.
Yep.
Next we're gonna talk about probably the hottest man alive. Wait, pause. Not like that. I mean, as in like stat
Yo.
wise. I mean stat wise, one of the hottest men alive. I'm just gonna stop talking. We're talking about Ashton Genty. In his last week's game, he had 13 carries for 186 yards, 3 touchdowns, and I'm pretty sure that was mostly in the first half. So,
It
is
was
he the best
it
running
was
back
all first
alive?
half. Yeah.
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 Is he the best running back alive?
Um. Yes. Right. In college football, to say right now, yes.
Mhm.
And right, they've been comparing his numbers to one of the greatest running backs in history, Barry Sanders. So to have your name up there like that in college and like just putting up these same kind of stats, and it's just right now I don't know how he could lose Heisman. The only way I can see that happening is if he gets hurt. Hopefully he doesn't, just because I'd love to see how he finishes the season. But some of these props that I've been seeing on like these betting sites is just like his lowest is or his over under is like 198 yards, and he's been hitting the over on every single
It's
week.
so crazy.
It's You don't see it happen. It's hard to do this even in like Road to Glory. So
I know. I was
it's
just
been
about to say that.
it's been amazing to watch, and I can't wait to see how he finishes the season and keeps going through
Yeah, the man is on rookie mode right now and putting up video game
it.
numbers, as we were just saying. I do think he's the best running back in college by far. Um, this season, he's had 95 carries for 1,031 yards, 16 touchdowns. He's averaging 10.9 yards a carry, which it's all just insane. Like you look at every one of those numbers, and it's just absurd. Like 1,031 yards. A
That's a
lot. Most
season.
running backs in college don't even
That's
get that
this
in a season. Like,
right.
what are we, 6 weeks
Oh
in?
my gosh.
6 or 7 weeks
Yeah.
in? 6 weeks,
Yeah.
six
I
weeks
think it's
in.
6.
And he has
Yep.
1,031 yards. Just absurd. Um, can't wait to see how he finishes out the season because he's on pace for probably
Yeah.
the craziest year ever. So
Mhm.
stay tuned for that. I do think he's the best running back alive right now, though, as that's the topic. The next news topic we're gonna go into the UFC world. UFC 307 happened last weekend, and Alex Pereira defeated Khalil Roundtree in the fourth round by a TKO. Mason, what are your thoughts on the fight?
Um, I wasn't able to watch it live, but after watching highlights, it was a dogfight, and Roundtree came out swinging. He was, he got that knockdown, at which it looked like Pereira was done. With like the way he dropped, I was like, oh my gosh! And he just once it came round four, he just kind of got gassed out, and you can see that heavily. And that's when Pereira, which we haven't seen too often, turned it on, and
Yeah.
he hit flow state, and I
Oh
that
yeah.
was one of the most like dialed in fighters I've seen in a long time. He was hitting everything, and it sucked to see that Roundtree was just as gassed as he was, but he was still trying to swing, and I
Right.
think all UFC fans have to respect that, and everyone's just thoughts and respect of Roundtree just is through the roof right now. Everything I think everyone was loving him coming into it, but loving him even more coming out of it.
Oh
And it was
yeah.
a great win by Pereira. It's definitely his hardest face challenge yet, but it's just a great fight overall.
Yeah, that fight was a really telling fight for both fighters. You look at Khalil Roundtree in his first ever championship fight. The man looked locked in the first 2 rounds. I mean,
Hmm.
you look at someone in the sense of like someone who had a game plan. He had a game plan, and that was to apply pressure and dodge that head kick that Alex Pereira loves to throw. I don't think Alex Pereira landed a single head kick in those first couple rounds. He dodged every single one and countered really well. Um, going into round three, Khalil Roundtree was up 2-0. In
Hmm.
my eyes at least, and I know that's how it was in a lot of other fans' eyes. So Khalil Roundtree is nothing to scoff at when people are saying like, oh, he's only on a fight. He was only on a 5-fight win streak because he was facing bums. He was handling Pereira very good in those first 2 rounds, and
He
he just ran
was.
out of gas. And that happens when you're in your first championship fight. You have a huge adrenaline dump, I'm sure, when you're going into that third round. You really start to realize like, oh, I'm starting to get tired. You're in higher altitude in that fight because it was in
Yeah.
Utah. Um, it sucks to see, but he fought his heart out. And going into round four, I just was hoping that he'd find a way to survive because it would have been 2-2 going into round five, and maybe he could have caught a second wind and got out there and put some points up and won the fight. But it's Alex Pereira at the end of the day. He's probably the best
Yeah.
fighter in UFC. I have never seen. See, I think this was a great fight for Pereira because you got to see new things from him. Like
Yeah.
no one knew he had
Yes.
that kind of head movement when it was needed.
No.
In that fourth round, he was dodging everything and countering and then coming forward and then uppercutting. It was like he was doing like he looked so technically sound. And
It
that's
was
something you don't
crazy.
always get to see with him because he finishes in the first round so many times in
Yeah.
his fight.
Yeah.
So to see him in adversity, being down in the later rounds, and going and finishing a guy like that who was coming to take his head off, um, very impressive win for Alex Pereira. Gained a lot of respect from me. I haven't been the biggest fan of his, but over this past weekend, to seeing him put up that display, I got to give credit when credit's due. He's probably the pound for pound best fighter in the UFC right now, and I'm looking forward to see what
Hmm.
he does next. I would like to see him move up to heavyweight and fight one of those guys like Aspinall or John Jones, but we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
see. He seems like he wants to stay in his division, which fair enough. It's not the best division, so he can kind of rack up his title defenses. So, yeah, great fight. Khalil Roundtree fought his heart out, just fell short in that fourth round. But great fight. Terrible card,
Mm-hmm.
might I add, but great fight.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're gonna finish off with the show is a segment that we liked doing a couple weeks ago. It's called "The Floor Is Not Yours." This is where we give our top 5 biggest fails that happened in a sports week. Mason, we'll start with you, going 5-1. What is your top 5 biggest fails in the sports world this week?
So number 5, it'll have to be DK Metcalf on the Seattle Seahawks for I have a couple in that game that are going to be on the list, but number 5 is DK Metcalf for absolutely getting strapped by one of, if not the worst corner through this season on our team, Deontay Banks. He had a huge fumble that cost them 7 points being on the board, and it was horrible look for Seahawks fans, and it was hard to see. And then number 4, going on to my own team, the New York Giants, is Eric Gray. He had a great start to the game, a couple screens, doing well. And at the inch-yard line of Seattle's side of the field, about to get into the end zone, he fumbles the football, and Rayshawn Jenkins picks it up for a 102-yard fumble return touchdown.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's another 7 right there. It was 7s being given out the whole time. Number 3, I'll have to go. Number 3, I'll have to go Aaron Rodgers throwing 3 interceptions against. Vikings are a great team,
Great
but
defense,
throwing
yeah.
throwing 3 interceptions, you hate to see it. And I'll tell you what, Van Ginkel, he's a ball magnet when it
All
comes
right.
to getting pick
Yeah, we
sixes.
know.
That was crazy. It's crazy. Number 2, I'll have to go Lamar Jackson for fumbling pretty much the game away. He just, well, almost fumbling
Almost.
the
They
game
still won,
away.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
they still won, but I put him at 2. He would have been at 1 if he didn't, but yeah. So he's at number 2 just because that's a clutch situation, and it's like, dude, you need to perform. And he took his eyes off, the ball for 1 second, and it was on the floor, and Bengals picked it up. Should have won, but they didn't. And number 1, I could not stress this enough. I talked about it a couple times already, but man, it really hurt me to my heart. It's Carlos Rodon. I was so excited to watch
I
it.
texted can
It's
I I texted you after the first inning when he
oh
struck out the side.
gosh.
I said, "This man is on one tonight," because he was fired up after
And
those first few strikeouts. I was like,
and
"There
I
is no
agree.
way this man's gonna blow it. He's gonna have a phenomenal game." I was thinking 10 strikeouts, 7 shutout innings, and boy, was I wrong.
Oh my gosh, it was just like I was on Twitter, and every Yankees fan was like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be another great game. We're gonna get 2 games at home, 2-0 going into Kansas City," and it was just, you know, 3 strikeouts first inning, another strikeout in the second inning, quiet third inning, and then 4 runs in the fourth inning. So that pretty much pulled the plug on him. And
Yep.
bullpen looked absolutely amazing. Didn't
Yeah,
do
bullpen
too
did good.
much else. But our bats, that didn't help at all for his production. So you can't give up 4 runs and expect our offense to, the way that they are right now, is to kind of come back. So yeah, Carlos Rodon is my number 1.
Very fair for your floor is not yours.
Yeah.
Starting out at number 5 for me, I just have Deshaun Watson being Deshaun Watson. This
Oh
dude is
gosh.
terrible. How he's still starting, I have no idea. Did you see that play where they were
Oh
going
my
for it on
gosh.
4th down and this man
Oh my
like goes and
gosh.
walks over to the head coach? The amount of fury in that head coach's eyes when he was
Oh.
walking over was laughable. This man has just been off to the worst start of a season you could probably have, and he's still starting. And the head coach said after the game, we have no plans of changing our quarterback, which is just beyond me. Because Jameis Winston cannot be much worse than Deshaun Watson, if you
No,
ask me.
man. Give the fans
It's
some
just
hope, like
right,
he
right. Change it up.
I I'd love to know what the players in the huddle were thinking on that 4th
Oh my
down.
gosh.
Just like, "Yo, what is he doing?" Because I saw one of the guys, he's kind of following him, and then he saw the situation, he was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, so
man.
that's my number 5, Deshaun Watson being Deshaun Watson. Number 4, I have the Milwaukee Brewers blowing a 2-run lead in the 9th inning with 1 out to eliminate their season. Um, yeah, like I just said, you were up in the 9th inning and you needed 2 more outs and you had a 2-run lead and you gave up that 3-run home run to Pete Alonso and that ended your season. As a Cubs fan, I
It was
have to rub it
electric.
in because they are a big rival to us. So it made me very happy to see this happen and I have to rub it in a little bit. So, yeah, that's my number 4. Number 3, this is something I feel like is not being talked about enough. I have George Pickens. This man only
Mm,
had 3 catches. He had 7 targets and only 3 catches, had some bad drops. His route running was terrible, only 26 yards. And this is all after wearing eye black that says open effing always. How are you going to wear eye black that says I'm always open and you only have 3 catches on 7 targets? That's just absurd if you ask me. I might be a little more salty than others about it because I have him in fantasy, so I was hoping for a better game from him. But just you can't wear something that says like you're open always and then only put up 3 catches. Like that goes for anyone. You can't just brag about something and
yeah.
then not do it. It gives me like that Crabtree moment when he said he was going to put up like all those catches against that what was it, Norman, and
Yes.
put up like 2 receptions. So yeah, it's just that's my number 3. That's a pretty big fail if you ask me. Number 2, I have Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. How do you come off a huge win against Georgia just to lose to Vanderbilt? Now, shout out to Vanderbilt. They played a phenomenal game. I'm not taking anything away from them,
Yep.
but it's Alabama at the end of the day. You got to win that game. And to be upset like that and have the fans carry a goalpost all the way down to the river, bad look. So that's my number 2. Now, number 1, as I said earlier, postseason baseball is one of the best atmospheres in all of sports. But there's some things that the fans have been doing that have been taking it a little bit
Mm,
too far. Starting with the Dodgers fans throwing things at Jurickson Profar and Fernando Tatis, causing like a 10-minute delay in the game, which, mind you, they still had their starter, Yu Darvish, pitching, and he was cold after waiting those 10 minutes. It's just distasteful. You should never be able to throw things into the stadium at players, endanger players. Um, it's just not right. And I'm glad that they got what
right.
they deserved and they got a 10 spot dropped on them. And now they're going into San Diego. And I really hope that San Diego
Yeah.
fans give them hell, so to speak, and defeat the Dodgers in San Diego. I don't want to see this go back to Los Angeles. I want it to end in San Diego. What those fans did was bad. And also, I don't know if you saw this. I just saw this morning. I gotta give some crap to Yankees fans. I don't know if you saw, but Carlos Rodon this morning was saying how fans were he was receiving death threats from fans after his performance, saying that they were like sending him messages saying that they wish he I can't really say it because of monetization, but yeah, they were sending him a lot of threats and just a bad look. Look, fans should love playoff baseball. It should be the craziest atmosphere, but you can't take it as far as that. Like it's never that deep. At the end of the
That's
day,
crazy.
it is an entertainment game, and throwing things at players is bad. And obviously, what happened to Carlos Rodon is just not acceptable at all. So that's my number 1 on the biggest failures. Fans, you got to be better at the end of the day. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we should enjoy it and take it and have fun with it, but you can't take it too far. At the end of the day, it's just a sports game. So, yeah, that's my biggest
Wow.
failure. So, yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. Hopefully we can get this episode out to you guys. As I said, we have a hurricane approaching us, Hurricane Milton.
A
Um,
very big hurricane.
Very big hurricane. So hopefully we have power to get this out to you guys. And just want to let you all know we're praying for everyone that's in Florida right now, especially Tampa. That area looks like it's going to
Mhm.
get hit pretty bad. So thoughts and prayers out to everyone that's in Florida right now. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looks. So yeah, hopefully we can get this episode out as well. So thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode of the GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason, and we're signing off for now. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.